welcome everyone to the live stream. I'm here with the founder of Snopes.com, the preeminent fact-checking website on the internet. So we're going to cover a bunch of questions for David today. We are going to talk some fact-checking. We're going to talk combating fake news, and we're going to ask him, does it get hot wearing a mask in the back pocket of Hillary Clinton? So all of this will happen coming up here, and we need your help to do it. So we have some general questions. There's questions everybody asked. David will cover some of those, and then we will cover some of your questions as well. So I'll be monitoring the chat room. I'm going to get things going in a second here. Let's start things off on a personal note. I have known you, David, personally for Nobody Cares. So tell us how Snopes got started.
In 1822, I was just a hobby that went awry back in the mid-1990s when I was on the internet early on and started a little website to write about Disney-related legends. And
it started with Disney?
Yes, it started with Disney, writing about, was Walt Disney frozen? Is there really a basketball court in the Matterhorn Mountain? Is there sex in the Lion King? And branched out from there, and it just kind of quickly became the go-to place where everybody started sending anything questionable they came across on the internet. Is Bill Gates really going to send you $50 for forwarding this email to test his email tracking program? And, is Craig Shergold trying to collect the largest number of business cards before he dies of cancer? All those golden oldies.
And that's still happening today, though. Those are oldies, but yesterday, Twitter was just taken down with a Bitcoin attack. The same thing of send $50 or whatever. Nigerian princes.
Send us $1,000 in Bitcoin, I'll send you back $2,000. Do you think, how have people who have been on the internet more than 5 minutes not learned this is a scam?
That is absolutely insane to me.
That's why we're still in business. What can I say?
Yeah, and you're still in business. You're supported in a couple of different ways. Why don't you go over that? Because here's an opportunity for people, if you want to support Snopes.com, how do they do it? How do they become a founding member, David?
First of all, you can correct my name as ELSON.
Oh, forget it. That's not even there. I don't even know what you're looking at, David. It's taken care of. See, that right there, live fact-checking on the internet's happening right now, people.
Yeah, so, we've traditionally been just funded by online advertising, but, of course, along with everyone else, that's become increasingly tenuous with everybody out of work and things closed, and people aren't advertising things like hotels and airline trips that aren't being bought. So we heavily depend on donations, contributions, people signing up to be founding members of our site and get the perks that we have to offer so far, buying merchandise, shirts, and the like.
What is the crazy big fact-checking going on right now? What is everybody seeing on the internet and thinking that it's true?
Well, unfortunately, the crazy big thing of the last several days has been you order some outrageously overpriced furniture from Wayfair and you can buy yourself a trafficked child hidden within.
How ridiculously overpriced? Like, what are we talking here?
Like $9,999 for an armoire or something.
Well, so once my unemployment comes in, I think I'm good to go.
I think that's just like the default price that gets put in as a placeholder till the actual price gets set.
And so you guys fact check that, and it's true?
Correct. I have 6 children now.
Doing all the work, which is why you've got the time now to finally do some interviews with us.
A bunch of furniture out by the curb if anybody wants like new furniture for free. But it's one of those kind of ridiculous things. Like, I mean, really, the fact check is like, are you stupid? I mean,
that's all you need at the top of the site. Yeah. Are you stupid? Click here. This button will tell you if you're stupid, and if you click there, it just takes you out of the site.
I mean, everyone should know it's illegal to ship children through the mail. I mean, this couldn't possibly be true.
Well, I don't know.
Actually, that is a fact check on our site that there was an issue way back when, around like the turn of the century, of people trying to mail children to save on like freight rates of sending them by railroad as a passenger, or just put them in a carton. So they actually did some legislation about not mailing children.
So it is actually illegal
Yes.
to mail. Do you get those questions a lot? Do you get is this legal? There's all those weird laws, like you can't wear a beard in
Yeah.
somewhere in Maine.
Yeah, I mean, usually they're like long laundry lists of obscure or antiquated laws, like, it's illegal to own camels in Arizona or something nobody wants to do anyway, and, like eating pickles at noon in a barber shop or something.
And Marcy from Hawaii just had an excellent question. Does the child, when they get there, do they assemble the furniture?
This is my boy, IKEA.
It's a good name. I mean, somebody said earlier, I think it was Marcy as well. She's the comedian in the group. Somewhere in America, there's a child named Remdesivir.
Yes, I saw that. At least one. And hydrochloroxyquin 8.
So we are going to take your questions as we go here, and I have some questions for David as well. How does the fact-checking process work? Do you take them all in? Where do they come from? Do you just see it on the internet and take care of it? Or what's going on with that?
Well, there's the ones that were paid to do by the hard left. Oh, no.
This is not true. I'll fact check that. That's not actually true.
We generally have always we tackle whatever the most people are asking about or questioning at a given time. Of course, as the years have gone by, that's gotten harder and harder to determine because there are a whole lot of inputs to that metric now. It's not just read our email. It's, a whole bunch of different social media outlets and corners of the internet. We check whatever most people are questioning. We don't make any judgment about this is too stupid or too obvious or too unimportant or too frivolous. And I have to say it often reveals some very distressing things about the human condition when 8 million people are asking you if this picture of Trump experiencing diarrhea on a golf course or something is real. But was this chemical attack in Syria on civilians, did it happen and who's responsible? It's like, nobody cares. If it made gasoline prices go to $8 a gallon tomorrow, people would care. Otherwise, no. Is this raccoon riding a crocodile real? That's important.
How much of what's on Snopes real news? I know you guys get the AP feed.
Yes.
How much are people going to Snopes as a source for their news, not just the fact checking?
I wish I knew. I mean, we do write some original pieces that we just do as news rather than fact checks because not everything lends itself to fact checking. It's just too subjective or complicated. And we do also publish articles from Associated Press and an outlet called The Conversation, which people often mistake for our fact checks. But, I don't know how many people, I hope there are people who come to us just sort of as their source of daily news. I think more people come up to us as the source of what crazy thing is out there today that I should know about. And don't want to know about.
You mentioned that. We were talking earlier about the chat room. The chat room, and by the way, if you're watching for the first time, welcome. This is the live stream. Today we're actually covering the truth and I guess also covering lies at the same time. This is our very first interview with my good friend David Mikkelson from Snopes.com. He is the guy who started Snopes.com, and that is the fact-checking site, which I almost guarantee you've been to before. So this is what we do, and we're hoping to do more of it. We also do coverage of when the president speaks, or when Kayleigh McEnany speaks, or when things are happening in the world, like a protest, and we can get live footage of it. We try and put it together. And yes, Snoops or Snopes, either one. Where did that come from, by the way? I know this answer.
Yeah.
What is Snopes? Where did you get that from? And do you wish you'd chosen something different now?
Well, okay. So it comes from the works of William Faulkner. He had families of characters that ran throughout his novels and short stories, and Snopes was kind of the lowest family in the social stratum.
Oh, so you picked
say.
The bad guys.
So, there was no conscious choice there. It's like I had a cat named Snopes. When I got on the internet years ago, I thought there's a gazillion Davids. Who's going to remember another one? I'll just use the pseudonym Snopes. Did I wish I'd picked something different? It just worked out serendipitously. It turned out to be a great name because there's a whole lot of fact this and check that and truth whatever, and we're kind of the one that's not. We're like Amazon and Google. It's short and it's catchy and it has absolutely no relationship to the underlying service we provide, but people remember it because of that. So
yeah, and it's become a verb now. People will say, "Oh, you should Snopes that."
Yes. Did you?
No.
Did you Snopes that?
Did you say that? I wonder where I got that from. That's subconscious advertising at work. That's why President is out there with the Goya beans. Now I'm hungry, but then I'm always hungry.
I sent Trump a shirt, but he just doesn't wear it.
Oh, you sent him a Snopes shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And there was a time, I remember you guys were in a war with the Daily Caller previous to the last election, and you put up a list of 20 or 30 fact checks that were sort of all favorable to the right wing. Do you guys approach things as, well, George Soros runs this thing, we should skew left, or do you just take what's out there and fact check it? And if the cards fall that in fact the president's right and George Biden wants to nuke suburbia, is that the call that you made? How do you keep bias out of the equation?
Well, I said, since we're going after what most people are asking about, it's not really our choice. It's not like, too favorable to Trump, cross it off the list. I have to say, of course, 98% of whatever, we come across generally is false, because that's what people sort of focus on. It's the stuff that has been exaggerated, distorted, one-sided, cherry-picked, because reality isn't all that interesting. It's got lots of shades of gray to it, so people go after the things where people are distorting and exaggerating stuff to make it seem like it's black and white. And a whole lot of that stuff is anti-Trump as well as pro-Trump. A whole lot of this is faked photos of Trump, satirical stuff that people don't recognize as satire or is deliberately obscured as being satire. But most of what you're doing is you're debunking things that are false, and most of what's out there tends to be about whoever's in power at the moment. So when Republicans are in office, we look pro-Republican. When Democrats are in office, we look pro-Democrat.
Oh, interesting. Were you around? I mean, I know you've been around for, 20-some years?
Yes. So
during the Bush administration? At the
even
end,
the Clinton administration,
Well, but during the Bush administration, did people see you as pro-Republican?
Some people did. There's always, there's an article somewhere on the site where it was just kind of funny. I just compiled, like 2 columns, or actually alternating, people accusing us of being, left wing, and people accusing us of being right wing, and people accusing us of being pro-Clinton, and people accusing us of being pro-Bush. And it's just,
from what I know about you, though, the only thing you're really, really pro is Dodgers and Seahawks. And Mariners. You're a Mariners fan now too, aren't you?
Well, not that I'd admit to at this point.
I don't think they're ever coming back anyway. So Rich Mack had a question for you. You mentioned earlier that you're 90% deaf. It's not really a fact check. Is that, are you that? Hold on. Are you 90% deaf?
I don't know if 90% is an accurate figure, but yes, I have pretty profound hearing loss that started mysteriously in my mid-20s, and without hearing aids, I could barely hear somebody a few feet away from me. I could not function in the workplace. So yeah.
Well, it's cool that we have the technology now. I know I see him sometimes with his iPhone adjusting the level of his headset and stuff like that. It's amazing what you can do.
I will say, I will take a political position. It is a shame that even with the best medical insurance, it still does not cover hearing aids. You can get vision coverage, no problem. If you can't hear, too bad. Hearing aids, $5,000 a pair. We're not covering it. My hearing wasn't corrected until I was in my 40s and could finally afford hearing aids.
Wow.
So
And before that, now that brings up another question. And Green Room, the Green Room Bar in Ireland asked this question earlier: are you making a good living? But I'm gonna frame that question for us. You were unable to, back when you started Snopes, it was more bulletin board, wasn't it? Before, like the beginning of the internet, before there was a website, didn't you do bulletin boarding?
Well, it wasn't Snopes, but I was on the internet before there was a World Wide Web, really. So that's kind of where I got my start, when the old Usenet groups, news groups, kind of like Facebook groups now, except no pictures, no sound, no video, no friends, just strangers texting at each other.
But plenty of porn if you were willing to wait. So then things got better and better and better. Theoretically, now, and I'm going to frame this in the aspect of, have things increased since the coronavirus? Has the site exploded following everybody saying, hey, can I catch it from a package? Can I go on an airplane? Have you seen an increase in business? Can we pay for those hearing aids yet, is my question. And it's actually Green Room's question. I should give Green Room credit for that.
I'd say, I don't know if it hasn't exactly sent traffic skyrocketing all out of proportion. Obviously, a much greater percentage of what we've been doing lately has been related to COVID-19 and the pandemic. I mean, it's kind of shocking, as I've said a few times. We're now like in mid-July in an election year, and it's like the campaign should be dominating everything: news coverage, fact checking, and it's like it's barely a blip at on the radar at this point. It's the president comes out and goes off on Biden for 50 minutes in the Rose Garden or whatever, and that's like the whole campaign.
Yeah, do people even fact check Trump? Like, is it worth it? Like, we know whatever comes out of his mouth, there's like a 3% chance that there's a grain of truth in it.
Yeah. Well, some of the unfortunate of what we do is, a lot of what comes across our desk, I'll say metaphorically, is ephemera. And it's like, you cover something today and tomorrow nobody cares about it anymore. And trying to do those things like you're doing, like, real-time fact checking. It's like, well, we don't really have the resources to do that, to be doing something that nobody's going to be looking at or reading tomorrow. So, analyzing the entirety of a Trump speech.
Well, then what the hell am I doing? All right, that's it, kids. We're wrapped. Thank you, David. Goodbye, everybody. Hold on. We got to do this. Hold on. All right, let me try that again. Goodbye. Apparently, David has told me that my business model is absolutely terrible. Right. Thanks for watching, everybody. So, Danielle, the moderator in our YouTube room. By the way, if you're watching and you want to get in on the fast chat, this chat in the middle, you can't click on that. But if whatever platform you're on, we broadcast across multiple platforms, you can chat there, or you can go to the best chat. We find that the fastest time in terms of delay is on YouTube. It's youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. Look for the live broadcast there. Subscribe to me, hit the little bell, and then you get notified, blah, blah, blah. Ask a kid how to do it. And all of these are, of course, saved on the internet, so you'll be able to access this information later. If you want to help Snopes, Snopes.com. Speaking of paying for David's earphones. By the way, Bernie Sanders wanted to put hearing aids into universal health care.
No.
Did you hear that? I guess that's a poor question to ask you. That's just mean at that point.
Yeah, you saw what happened to him, right? He's not going to be in the White House anytime soon.
Do I? That's a good question, Rich. I have a question coming up from Danielle here. By the way, I'm trying to grab your questions as we go here, guys. So let's first hold that question, Dr. Howard. I might ask it again. Am I on the Snopes website anywhere? I don't think I am. You've never run a fact check on me. This is a question from producer Rich.
We completely obscured the idea of whether I was making a good living, though, so thanks.
Okay. I don't know. I tell everybody, and I'm willing to brag about this, I have $108 in unemployment. So that is, how many months has it been? And I have $108 total. So, and that's the truth.
Well, I'd say it's a good living. It's not a Soros good living.
Most people, if only.
I mean, at this point, if you still don't have to worry about where you're sleeping tonight or what you're eating tomorrow. You're making a pretty good living.
You have a job. And one of the things that David did, which is very cool, right at the very beginning of the pandemic, before PPP, unemployment increases, any of that, David published a report, and I can't remember if I saw it from you or from a newspaper or where I saw it. You were going to pay your employees one way or another. Is that, was that a dream? Fact check me on that.
I think that's what we were saying, was we weren't going to work our employees to death to try and cover every single fact check related to COVID-19, that we had to protect their health as well. So it's like, we do what we can do, but we're not running our employees 24/7 to.
So
to
you
deal
were
with this.
slammed with fact checks right at the very
Yes.
beginning.
Mhm.
So people, what are there numbers? Is there an average day of November last year? How many fact checks you got versus the 10th day of COVID?
No, I mean, if you just counted the number of discrete questions people asked us, I mean, it's some ridiculously large number. But I mean, most of them are things you would never answer or write a fact check about. We said again, we have to go after what are the most people asking about, not some fringe thing. So
Okay.
we tackle as many as we can, but.
Here's a question that I'm sure no one has ever asked you before. Dr. Howard in the chat room wants to know, do you believe in the paranormal? I don't know if this is a fact. Can you fact check the paranormal for us? Is there an afterlife? We want to know, dude. Actually, everybody wants to know that. And some people are really sure without any evidence whatsoever.
I don't know. I have my hands full with the before life, so...
No time for the afterlife.
I have no expectations or times to think about what comes after, but no, I will say no. I do not know. Nothing. You're dead, you're dust, you're ants, you're worms, whatever. That's it. Sorry, folks.
Well, if you do come back, write up a page for us, would you? Danielle, moderator Danielle, I never finished the thought before. I'm going to get to your question in just a second. What I was saying is about moderator Danielle. If you go to youtube.com/KevinlyFather, in that chat room, Danielle can moderate so that if you do want to swear, she'll let you through if she feels like it. So she does a tremendous job for us. And thank you, Danielle, for all that you do for us as a moderator in the chat room. Her question for David is, when you get a fact check to check, do you Google the information or do you have specific sites that you check? How do you find out?
Mostly we use the Magic 8-Ball site. It depends. I have to say, it's a common question. There is no magic process to this. There is no secret. It's generally just standard journalism, mixed with a little, say, detective work and some institutional knowledge, because we've been doing this for so long. We recognize, a lot of patterns and I saw this same thing 6 years ago, except it was Obama instead of Trump or something. So some things, you can just go out and Google them, especially if it's like is this photo real? You can do a quick image search, find the original. Yep, somebody modified it. Other things, it's like you have to get into, FBI crime databases to see who's killing more of whom, of what color, and things like that. Look up the text of a legislative bill to see if it's really going to eliminate, heated dog houses or whatever somebody's claiming. Track down people. I often joke, it used to be a lot easier to do this job because everything's circulated by email, right? It took weeks and weeks for something to go viral. You had plenty of time to check it out, and now somebody posts something outrageous on Facebook, and 30 minutes later it's a headline in the New York Post.
Yeah.
And, it's like one person posting something on Facebook and it goes viral, and you've got to track that person down and try and get in touch with them and determine whether what they're telling you is believable or not. And there's a whole lot of rat holes we have to go down that we didn't before.
Someone just said in here, let's see, I Prevail Queen just said, home from the hospital, welcome home. Back to fact checking. The term fake news, I know Trump invented it in 2016. We certainly saw a rise of it out of Macedonia, out of Russia, out of wherever, on Instagram, Facebook, etc. And it certainly, I believe, had a bearing on the election and how things turned out. is it so much worse than it was before because it's so easy to produce? I mean, honestly, any idiot can put together a live stream nowadays. That's what I'm saying. But do you feel like a fake news warrior? You know what I'm saying? You take that take all those words I said, make a question. Go.
There's a lot of questions in there. I suppose.
I'm pretty good.
I always say it's like technology changes, human nature doesn't. So basically, the existence of misinformation and the types of misinformation and the reasons people propagate misinformation, hundreds, thousands of years old. It's just technology has, yes, unfortunately, it has expanded both the scope and the speed at which smaller and smaller numbers of people can get misinformation out there to a global audience. So that is definitely a problem, as everyone who's mad at social media entrepreneurs knows. Before it's like, you were a crank, what could you do? You could, unless you owned a TV station, you were Howard Hughes or somebody, you could go stand out on a soap crate on the corner, or you could run a mimeographed newsletter, or write a letter to your...
I remember those.
Write a letter to your local paper, but your reach was pretty limited. Now you think people are shipping trafficked children in Wayfair furniture. All it takes is one Facebook post and boom, you are affecting the stock price of some major companies.
Are we too interconnected? Should there be fact checkers? I know Facebook tried to do this, or is trying to do this. I'm not even sure. Sort of a filter for the internet. Can we do that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, of course, again, it's the baby and bathwater problem. If you kind of limit connectivity, you also limit connectivity to good and corrective information. The problem is, of course, it doesn't travel as far or as fast as the bad information. But again, that's always been true. The scandalous story gets page 1 in the tabloid, and the correction is on page 32. 6 weeks later.
Right.
That's just not interesting to people to learn that it wasn't true.
Yep. Okay, guys, we're coming up against a hard deadline with David. We have to let him go by 4 o'clock. So we really appreciate him being around today, or at least accessible, here at Socially Distant Studios is what I'm calling it as of today. What are your questions, fact-checking questions, otherwise things that you've always thought about? We talked a little bit earlier in one of the podcasts. Now I'm doing a podcast. One of the live streams about the Russians using a pencil in space. Are there other ones? I guess you started with Disneyana.
Yes.
Are there other ones that you've kind of seen over the years? Something that keeps coming up that everyone believes is true, but are false? Are there just like, do you see them and you go like, oh, here we go again?
Well, I mean, some easy example is, it's like the claim that, enter your PIN in reverse at an ATM if you're in distress and it will automatically summon the police. Of course, that's not true. It never has been true. It's been on the internet and debunked for like 20 years now. And again, it's like, how has anyone been on the internet for 5 minutes and not encountered something telling them that this wasn't true? And it just never goes away, keeps coming back over and over and over. It's like the Nigerian prince of misinformation.
Yeah, but that was true, right?
The Nigerian princes?
Yeah. I mean, there's Nigeria. It's a country. There were princes.
I mean, until they ran out of money early on, and then it became a scam. But those of us who were in it early on, we got our millions.
What about voting by mail? You guys have you fact checked that?
Yeah, we have an article. It may be I think a news article rather than a fact check, again, because it's kind of complicated. You can't make a definitive answer, but we're kind of debunking. We debunked the idea that the vote by mail was really any significantly more subject to fraud than other voting methods.
Danielle asked another question here, and we've kind of covered it a little bit before, but when it comes right down to it, I'm going to add a little bit more to it. A, I want you to debunk the theory that vegetables are good for you, and B, how do you decide which facts to spend your time on? And I'm going to ask how you disperse those facts. How many reporters do you have now? How many fact checkers? Because pretty much everybody's got a journalism degree or something, right? You're not just random wackos like me. Trump never said that,
Well, I kind of already addressed one of those questions. We're going after what most people are asking about.
Right.
So that's kind of where the fact checks come from. Right now, I think our staff is about 20. They're not all fact checkers, of course, because we need to have business people and operations people and technical people. So the editorial staff, I think, is probably like 12 or 14 right now. Fact checkers, editors, social media managers. Unfortunately, that's one of the things about modern day journalism. It's not enough to just write and edit and publish stories. You have to manage them. You have to control your social media flow to get your product out in front of, the eyes of people who have a million other things competing for their attention, millions of other, sites and people that are posting on Facebook and, Netflix and Hulu and, the old days when we used to be able to go outdoors and do stuff.
I'm not old enough to remember that.
I said it's just, there's a lot to, it's more than write up and research and publish. It's, get it in front of people's eyes so that they actually are seeing it, whether they want to or not.
Yeah, have you guys advertised on other platforms, or do people just kind of find their way to Snopes? I know that as soon as I put in a fact check nowadays, Google Snopes is right at the top.
Yeah, no, we have never advertised. We're still pretty much just word of mouth from the earliest days of the internet. It's like everybody's heard of us.
Question from Random Image. One of the most ridiculous theories out there, having flown around the planet, is that it's flat. How big of a subsect of Snopes have you guys had to devote to the flat earthers?
I don't think we've ever actually addressed any flat Earth claim, just because it's.
It's just too easy.
Well, it's just dumb. I mean, I still.
that doesn't stop you on a lot of.
I refuse to believe that there are people out there who seriously think that the Earth is flat. It's just they're doing it to be contrary or controversial or whatever. But I've seen a picture of the Earth and it was round. So
here's the thing. The flat earthers, if I was to send a flat earthers a Snopes.com article about why the Earth is round and how we know that it's round, they wouldn't pay attention to it anyway.
Exactly. It's kind of like, asking about the paranormal. It's like, you can't debunk ghosts, right? Either people are going to believe in it or they're not. You can debunk particular pictures of alleged ghosts or something like that, but the existence of, paranormal, you're believing it or you're not, nothing's going to change anybody's mind.
Yeah. I was talking to Kevin Lee's son the other day, and I want you to fact check me. I want you to fact check a boy's father right now.
Okay, you were not actually talking to him. That was...
No, I was. I really was. I told him that, and I may have gotten this confused in my own head, like everything, that the biggest fact-checking section on Snopes devoted the most resources that Snopes originally devoted their time to, and I didn't know that you got started with this, was Disney folklore. There's so much Disney Anna, so much Disney trivia-related items that... that's the biggest section. Am I being accurate? Did I lie to my own son?
It's not the biggest section. As I said, that's where we got started. I started writing about Disney legends, but it's not in any sense the largest section of the site.
Oh, but there's a ton of it, yeah?
Maybe a metric ton.
Okay, I lied.
I don't know.
He doesn't watch the broadcast, so he'll never know.
But unfortunately, it's something I haven't kept up with. It's one of the natural outgrowths of becoming bigger and successful as you get farther and farther removed from what it was you wanted to be doing in the first place.
Yeah. What would you rather be doing now, or are you good with the way things are coming in? Would you? I mean, if I was you, I'd rather be combating less fake news.
Well, less fake news and really no politics. I never heard. I did not start this having any intent or interest in dealing with politics at all.
Wow.
And that's pretty much all that we do now. But yeah, I liked researching and writing about did Clark Gable really kill a pedestrian and the studio send someone to jail in his place and all those sorts of interesting stories.
I'm going to guess no.
We say no.
Okay. Well, you're paid to say no, let's be honest. I know how this works.
Yeah, and one of my first fact-checking efforts was to, a field trip out to a forest lawn, out in Southern California to actually see where Walt Disney is interred, or so they say, finding there was no, cryogenic unit out there, things like that.
Okay, but didn't they just freeze his head?
No.
And kept his body?
No, it was Ted Williams.
Oh, okay. Was it really?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, really? They did freeze Ted Williams?
Ted Williams, the baseball player.
True?
Yes, I think his head is frozen.
The lifetime 400 hitter? Ted?
Yeah.
That's all I know about him.
Yeah, not lifetime 400, the last 400.
What? Oh, you mean he hit 400 in season, and
Yes.
he didn't actually get, 400 lifetime. Okay. Any more questions, guys? Just shoot them in there. We're going to wrap it up here with David in just a second. So I have room for one more question. Make it a good one. What do you see in the future for Snopes? Is there something that once this whole COVID thing is done and you don't have to fact check COVID 24/7 anymore, is there a vision for where you want to take Snopes? And I actually know a little bit of this. You don't have to discuss anything that hasn't happened or whatever. But ideally, would you like to just walk away from it because we all are very factual, or what? Like,
I'd like to get into real-time live streaming. No.
Oh, no, you don't. We've already decided that's a terrible business model.
There's still all sorts of other media that we've just never had the time or resources to get into. People always want us, why don't you do a book, and why don't you have a TV show, and why don't you have a podcast, and why don't you do
we could do a podcast.
Why don't you do a scripted series, or
a scripted fact-checking series? Well, I mean, I guess, but yeah, a fact-checking television show, that's something that's been brought up dozens of times.
Something like that. I would like to see, just a very broad sense, having to devote less time to really just stupid, frivolous stuff that should not need to be fact-checked.
Right. Almost out of time, guys. I appreciate everybody in the chat. And I'm going to ask two questions here. One, Cousin Larry, I'm going to get your question. The other one, several people have been sort of asking, and I know this is so new, Trump taking away the hospitalization figures from the CDC, which Kaylee Macaroni said earlier today didn't happen, but we just looked at the website. It's gone. Mm-hmm. Has Snopes had a chance to look at it? And
I don't think we've done that yet.
That's brand new. That's from yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that you guys will tackle, or do you think the press will be so all over that? Yeah. So my question would be, do you see things that are, you said a little bit earlier, the things that are so talked about and so dealt with universally that there's no reason for Snopes to handle it?
Yeah. Right. There's an earthquake in, Peru. We don't need to fact check that there was an earthquake in Peru because, hey, it's all over the news.
Wait, was there an earthquake in Peru? Because I have a vacation.
No, there's some subset. Like every time a famous person dies, people come streaming to our website because they are so used to celebrity death hoaxes.
Right. Do you have to get right on those as soon as somebody actually passes?
Yes, generally. And it's even more complicated when somebody dies who has been the subject of death hoaxes in the past.
Yeah.
And it's like now we have one or more pages saying, no, it's not true, this person died. And now they actually are dead. And people are coming to our site searching and finding articles that say, no, in fact, David Bowie is not dead.
Who is, well, don't make me sad, who is the most dead reported person that's actually alive?
I think Will Smith. I think he died 4 times in 1 year.
I didn't even know that he was dead. Apparently fake. Okay, Cousin Larry's question is going to be the last question, and then we're going to get out of here, and we appreciate David's time. Before we go, if you'd like to support this live stream, which is apparently, this is it, I'm packing it up after today on David's advice, go to kevinleefather.com. There you can become a resistor, or a protester, or a producer. Get your name in the credits with giant fonts if you want to.
Can I become a deregulator if I donate enough?
That's a new category. Whatever you, okay, you're a deregulator. I'm going to list David there as a deregulator. Remind me to do that because I'm terrible with remembering the credits. Although I love each and every one of them individually, platonically. Maybe some a little bit more Chris Wilson. So now I forgot Larry's question. No, I didn't. If you want to support Snopes.com, which is a fact-checking organization, and apparently David doesn't care that much about politics, doesn't want to cover it, but we need it.
But I do care about money, so.
Yeah, he's all about the money. Snopes.com. Go there, become a member, or donate there on their website. Last question, and we are almost out of time. Cousin Larry asked, do you get random lawsuits if you fact check some Georgia senator and do they sue you? Oh, you have to take that down. Do you get that, and how do you handle it?
No, we've never actually been the target of a lawsuit over a fact check that we wrote. That's never happened. The only...
Are you kidding me?
The only lawsuit we've ever actually had to deal with is still ongoing, and it's the people who held our website hostage and took all of our revenues for months on end, which has nothing to do with fact checking.
That was in the papers.
It has to do with...
I don't want you to go too farther in there because I don't. Good questions. Does David donate Kevin, and does Kevin donate to David? David's pugs did make part of this live stream possible, so I will say that. And I did drive David to California, so yes. I did my part as well.
And back is the important part.
And back. Yes, we do take care of each other, and what I want you guys to do in the chat room is take care of each other. Everybody who's watching this in the future and wants to be part of it, you can do that by going to youtube.com/KevinLeeFather and subscribing to me there. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at KevinLeeFather. David, you want to plug something besides Snopes.com?
Is there something else?
Your Twitter's down right now. Snopes is part of the big hack.
Yeah.
Snopes is important enough.
Free Snopes Twitter. Just continue to look, continue to spread.
Oh, okay. One more question. I lied. One more question. Dr. Howard wants to know, what are the names of the pugs?
What are the names of the pugs? I have Reuben, I have Nunu, and I have Trudy.
Oh, wow. And then there was a black lab the last time I was there, wasn't there? Or is that somebody else's dog?
I have a black pug, but...
Okay, no, that's not a black lab. Thanks for all the fact-checking that you do. And now, we're up against a 4 o'clock deadline, and things have to happen. So, guys, it's been wonderful. Thank you, Danielle. Okay, everyone's saying thank you now. Thank you. So thank you very much, David. We'll continue reading the chat comments while the credits are running. We will see you all. This is it for today. We will see you all tomorrow with another Billy Joel, another live stream coming up against our hard deadline, guys. Take care, and if you're watching for the first time, tune in again to watch the live stream.
Kevin, is this helpful to Joe Biden?
Wait, what?